Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're putting together a little odds and ends video for you guys. Again, things are stacking up over here and need to get some things out of the way. I want to give you a couple of updates on some things that are going on as well. First off, let me just tell you guys, the last 6-7 weeks for me has been a little bit rough. I've had some health issues and whatever going on. I think I had shared in the past that had come down or had had to have gallbladder surgery back in May, and everything went well there. Just wasn't able to do any lifting or whatever in the shop for about a month after that surgery, which really cut down on my video production there for a little while. But fortunately, the surgery went very well. Unfortunately, about a week and a half after my surgery, I came down with a case of shingles, which I've had before, and I've had the vaccine for it as well. And fortunately, it was a very mild case, at least compared to the last case that I'd had, which was very good. I think the vaccine really kicked in and prevented it from getting too bad. But that kind of knocked me on my tail for a little while. And I got over all of that, got over my surgeries, got out here, started working back in the shop, and boom, I finally got caught up with the COVID bug. The COVID got me about 2 weeks ago. I was out here actually working in the shop and got to feeling really bad. Went to the house, figured out I was running a fever. I went to the doctor, and sure enough, they tested me and I had COVID. And COVID really knocked me for a loop. I've been a lot sicker, but I was pretty darn sick. I ran a really high fever for about 3 days. And that was probably really the worst of it. After that, it was just kind of like having a bad head cold, and being worn out all the time. I couldn't walk across the room without feeling like I needed to sit down and take a nap. So the COVID thing took about 10-12 days to really kind of get completely over it, but I am over it. And the worst thing about the COVID was that it hit right before the Barzy Summer Bash, and I was not able to go out to California this year for the Barzy Bash, which I really was kind of sick about. And I know a lot of you guys went to that event hoping to see me there, and I apologize for not being there, but I really needed to take care of myself, and I really didn't want to risk spreading any COVID around. Well, I don't think I was contagious at that point. I still was in that kind of quarantine period. So I played it safe and just stayed home. And to be honest with you, had I gone out there, I'd have been miserable. That weekend, I just was not at 100%. But anyway, enough on that. Good news is I'm healthy again. I'm back out in the shop working on stuff again, and hopefully not going to have any more issues with health stuff coming up anytime soon. But I do want to kind of give you guys an update on that. Got a bunch of stuff over here we're going to work through and what have you, and we'll go ahead and get started on that. All right, first items here come from Joe Way out in California, and Joe was going to give me this at the Barzy Bash, and of course I wasn't there. He was kind enough to put it in the mail to me. He'd also sent along a couple of bigger wrenches. He had contacted me a while back, said he'd recently come across a pretty big stash of larger wrenches, wanted to know if I had any sizes I needed, and I've got a pretty good collection, but there were a few holes in my collection, and this one here, was this 1 7/16", I think is what it was. He had one of those, 1 7/16", and he sent along the 1 1/4" was the size. I've got one, but I wanted to put one over on my horizontal milling machine and just kind of leave it over there. So he had one of those he sent along as well. Now the catalog down here, JT Slocomb Company. This is basically a pretty old company that made all kinds of metrology tooling, micrometers and so forth, and not a very, probably hugely well-known manufacturer. I don't know exactly how long they were in business, but they definitely were a maker, similar to Starrett or Brown & Sharp or something like that. It's not nearly as common to come across these Slocomb tools as it is some of the other brands that are out there. But anyway, nice to have a catalog from them. Let's see, I'm not sure what year this is. So it's catalog number 16. Then I don't see a date. Oh, hang on. Here we go. 1920. This is the price list right here. And that's March 1920. Catalog 16 though. So anyway, very nice to have this. Like I said, this is not as well known of a maker of tools as maybe some of the other ones that are out there. I think these little racks here are cool. Those are just neat. I've never seen one of those in the wild. But anyway, I thought you guys would enjoy seeing that. Up next, got some stuff that was sent in by Robert Kirkpatrick up in North Carolina. And Robert had contacted me, told me he had some things he wanted to send along. And this little gear caliper was one of them here, a little Brown and Sharp. This is a 20-2 diametral pitch, and it's a little micrometer for measuring gear teeth. And I've actually shown how to use these in the past. They're pretty neat. You can adjust the width here. Let's see, you can pull this. Let's see, yeah, there you go. Pull open that, read off the vernier scale exactly the width of the gear, and then this one here adjusts the height of the gear. There's a little piece right there in the back, and between those you can measure the width and the height and go in there and very precision measure exactly what you're looking for. Basically the way you do this is depending on the pitch gear that you're cutting, you know how far down it is to the center of that gear. You set that on this back piece, and then you actually measure the width, and you can determine whether your gear is in spec or not. So anyway, nice little tool to have, and I'm tickled to get a hold of that one. Also, he sent along a bunch of cutters, mostly involute cutters for the horizontal milling machine. These are for cutting gear teeth. Obviously, they have the profile of a gear tooth, and I've got a bunch of these. I don't have them all, so I don't know if these are any that I need to fill in holes or not, but I've got a cabinet over there where I have them all sorted out, and we'll put them in there and have them for gear cutting jobs down the road. We're always glad to get a hold of these involute cutters, because it seems like every time I go to make a gear, I never have the one I need. I've got, probably 100 involute cutters over there, but they probably had 300 to make a complete set, so I don't ever seem to have the one I need. So always glad to get a hold of these whenever I can. And Robert, thank you very much for sending them along. Next item comes in from Glenn up in North Carolina, and he sent along, this is a part that goes off of a Marvel bandsaw. He thought it would fit on mine. It's a blade cover. I know that the blade kind of runs in this trough, and it's just a guard, basically. You got these holes here that go to where some cap screws or something will hold it in place. I need to get back there and see if it fits on mine. I don't see one of these on mine, so I'm not sure if this fits my model, or if fits a different model, or whether it's just missing off of mine. But I need to get back there and figure out if it'll fit on mine, and if it does, we'll definitely put it on there. But Glenn, thank you so much for sending that along. Hopefully we can put it to use on my machine back here. I will get back there and see if I can figure out where it might go. Thank you, sir. Up next, very nice little chart table of equivalents. This comes from Tim Riley. Tim is a guy who lives up in North Georgia, a big follower of the channel here, and has become a pretty good friend over the last couple of years. I've gotten to meet him several times. He's come down and helped me out a couple of times, and I've sold some stuff to him and what have you. Anyway, he told me back at Christmas, he had his girlfriend, I think, gave him one of these, and he had also purchased one himself, so he had a spare, and he was kind enough to pass one of these along to me. He actually was down here a couple of weeks ago picking up some stuff that he had gotten from me, and I brought along as viewer mail. So this is an interesting decimal chart, because it's one that I don't have, number one, but it's got your decimal equivalents down the side here. But really what most of this is steel wire sizes and weights. So steel wire comes by a number size. So like, you got a 1 1/4, whatever here, and it tells you the decimal size of the wire. It tells you the pounds per foot of it as well. So it's something that you can use it to calculate. So you got pounds per foot and feet per pound. So if you take some wire and you weigh it, and you can figure out how many feet based on the weight of it, or the other way around. So anyway, this is one that I don't have, and something that'd be nice to have occasionally, to be able to look up these wire sizes and weights. And I like these little metal charts. You probably noticed around my shop I have a bunch of them hanging on the wall. I kind of collect them, I guess you could say, and they make interesting shop art. Anyway, this is one, again, I don't have, so very cool. Thank you, Tim, for thinking of me. So brand spanking new, it's in excellent condition, and we'll get it hanging up somewhere here in the shop very soon. Next item comes from Garth Burton up in Ohio. He sent along a pair of these really kind of cool pliers. Kind of lets you reach up into an area and grab something. He sent them along so I can grab chips off the lathe or whatever without getting my hands in there. And that is a very neat tool, and definitely one that will get put to use around here, I am sure. I'll put this over in my cabinet full of pliers and have it available. And Garth, thank you so much for sending it along. Next item, this one wins the award for coming the farthest. This one comes from Mike Clayton, and Mike is from Christchurch, New Zealand. And wow, he contacted me a while back, wanted to know if I could use this old Starrett catalog, and I'm like, sure, I'd love to have it. I didn't realize that he was sending it literally from the other side of the world, but he was. I was very surprised when I saw that it come in all the way from New Zealand. But anyway, catalog number 27. This is Starrett Tools, and I think it was 1955 is the date on this one. But again, just like the catalog before, except this one's Starrett, and it's got a lot more stuff in here. As you can see, the complete line of Starrett tools from 1955. Always nice to have these around as a reference. I've got a couple of different editions of Starrett catalogs from different years, and it's really nice to be able to pull these things out and look things up, and see their line was constantly changing. They were adding stuff, and they were taking tools away that maybe weren't as good sellers or whatever. So there's a lot of differences really from one year to the other in these things. So it's nice to have a good collection of these. And if you got something weird, you don't know what it is, you can often go look it up in these catalogs and figure out what you got. So anyway, thank you very much for sending that along, Mike. Next up, we got from Mike Krustafik up in Illinois. I apologize if I don't say your name correctly, Mike. I'm doing the best I can there. But he sent along this interesting tool here. So we got a number 5 Morse taper up here. This will fit on both either my horizontal boring mill as well as my big radial drill. And what it is it's a boring bar. We just made a boring bar very similar to this for my horizontal milling machine, where you have the little square hole in there where you can put a piece of high-speed steel and turn around and turn it out. So this will likely get used over on my horizontal boring mill if I ever need to bore a hole. I can, a small diameter hole, I can put a piece of high-speed steel in here and just let it stick out so far, and you can get whatever radius you want off of that. So anyway, nice little tool to have, and definitely something that'll probably get used at some point in time, and it'll definitely be something nice to have in the arsenal. So Mike, thanks for sending that along. I'm going to put this over with my horizontal boring mill tooling back there in the back shop, and once we get that machine up and going, might have a use for it one day. Thank you, sir. Next item comes from Bob Meek out in California, and this is pretty cool. It's a piece of electrical equipment. It's a Westinghouse drum switch. So this would be used on a machine to do forward and reverse. There's basically a drum in here with a bunch of different prongs on it. Depending on where you put this, it will reverse the volt or reverse the power going through the piece and reverse a motor around. This is for a 3-phase motor. So basically with a 3-phase motor, you got 3 hot wires coming into it. And if you switch any 2 of them, you'll reverse the motor. And that's basically what this switch does. In this position here, it's off. And then you have a forward and a reverse depending on the way you go. Anyway, pretty cool old school drum switch. These, I really like to find this old electrical control stuff as long as it's in good condition and have it around, because if I'm restoring an old machine, it really just looks cooler, it looks better if you have vintage electrical stuff on it. So I like to pick this kind of stuff up whenever I can find it. And while I haven't opened this one up to look what it looks like inside, it appears to be in good shape. So I'm sure this is something that we can repurpose and salvage and use on a machine at some point in time. I've got several things in here that use drum switches, and anyway, we'll put this over on my electrical shelf and have it whenever we need it for a restoration coming up down the road. And Bob, thank you very much for sending along. I love this old vintage stuff like this. Up next, got some items that were dropped off here by John Mercer. John is up in North Carolina, I believe is what he told me. He was on his way down to Florida and was coming through town and was kind enough to drop this stuff off, along with a couple other things we'll show you here in just a minute. But start out over here on the table, we got a couple of manuals. These are for some do-all band saws that he brought by. I'm not sure if these are on the website or not. If not, we'll get them scanned and put up. Also, nice boring bar used over on the lathe. These are always handy to have. So that one looks like it's in pretty decent shape. I just need to swap the insert out. And this, I believe, is a grinding wheel spindle that you put a grinding wheel on a surface grinder. I think that's what it is. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it fits anything that I've got, but still, he brought it along and dropped it off. If somebody recognizes that and has a need for it, let me know, because I don't think I do have a need for it. Always be nice to find a good home for it. Let me show you what else he brought. John also brought along these 4 chucks. These are, looks like 12-inch chucks, roughly just a tad over 12 inches in diameter. But there's 3 4-jaw chucks and 1 3-jaw chuck. Let's see, this one's made by Skinner. This was made by D.E. Whitten Machine out of New London, Connecticut. This one's marked Poland. Doesn't have a name, but it just says Poland. And this one, I think that's Buck. I think this is Buck chuck. So some nice little chucks here. So kind of interesting though. So obviously 3-jaw scroll chuck. This is a 4-jaw independent chuck, like you'd expect. These two though are kind of cool in that these are both scroll chucks and 4-jaw chucks, 4-jaw independent chucks together. There is a scroll back here in the back where it will open and close all the jaws together. And then you also have individual adjustments on here on each one of these to adjust your part. So this is kind of an unusual chuck. I've got a 4-jaw scroll chuck. I don't have one that's scroll and independent built into one. But what is cool about these is you can use these in production jobs when you have like an irregular shaped piece, or you want to get something fine tuned in really fine, and you get everything set, but then you can use the 3-jaw or the scroll part to move them in and out and change your parts out. And then if you need to fine tune them, you can fine tune them on the independent jaws. So that's kind of cool. I'm gonna probably take one of these and get it set up over here on my 16-inch lathe, just because I think it'll be handy. This one here also has T-slots in it. You can take the jaws completely out and put T-slots in here and actually use this like a big faceplate as well. So kind of a really cool chuck. This was made by Skinner. Like I said, I think that one is going to definitely get used over on my machine for sure. The other ones honestly are probably a little bit redundant for me. Again, if somebody has a need for a big chuck, let me know, and maybe we can work something out, do some trading or something like that. But kind of cool. Neat to have stuff like this in the shop. John also brought a big shaper vise. Unfortunately, I can't get to it right now. It's piled up and I'm not going to move everything off of it, but he also brought a big shaper vise that he gave me as well, which I'll probably use on my metal planer. Guys, got a little favor to ask, see if someone can help us out. I've got a couple of things over here. These two metal cases that have some valve grinding equipment in them. These are some electrical meters of some kind, and a couple other pieces on this pallet, little smaller stuff. That all is going up to Brian Block, fellow YouTuber up in northern Kentucky. Brian lives in Baghdad, Kentucky, which is not too far from Frankfort, Kentucky, the state capital up there. And anyway, I had a viewer that gave this stuff to me, asked me if I could get it up to Brian. It's just been taking up room in my shop and would like to get this stuff moved on up the road. I don't have any plans right now to be going to northern Kentucky anytime soon, but I figure summertime, people going back and forth on vacation to Florida, coming down I-75, going up I-75. Hopefully somebody out there can help us move this stuff. So if you got some room in the back of the truck or an SUV or something like that, you know, and you're headed that direction anyway, and could help us out, I'm sure Brian and I both would greatly appreciate if someone could help us out with that. If you can help out, my email address right down below here, Rucker. Right down here, I'm not going to say it on the video. I don't want it to get picked up by the bots, but you can read it down there, and you can send me an email if you can help out, and we can definitely hook you up with Brian so that you can take them up there to him if somebody can help out with that. Thank you very much. So as long as I'm asking favors, I got one other favor I'd like to ask folks, and that is I'm looking for one of these. This is a inside micrometer made by Brown Sharp, but it's kind of an unusual, very special one, and unfortunately I think they're kind of rare because I haven't been able to find them anywhere. This is again made by Brown Sharp. It's badged Brown Sharp. Unfortunately, this micrometer does not have a number on it, so I don't know what number this is in the catalog or anything. I had never even been able to find any of these sets in any of my Brown Sharp catalogs that I have, which I don't have too many, but I have a few. But this is a 5 to 6 inch inside micrometer. You got the standards on each end. It could also be used as end measures, like on a boring jig or something like that, to make precision measurements. But what is unusual about this inside mic is on one end we have threads on the standard down here, and what you got is you got all these long rods in here, and you can put these on. You just basically screw them on like such, and you can put these together to make, you know, whatever length standard you need to go up inside of whatever you're measuring. You just kind of keep putting them on. So all these are threaded on the ends like that. I'm looking for the micrometer head. I've got, like I said, another set of these, and it's missing that micrometer, and I am looking for that because I've got somebody who has purchased one set of these, and I'm keeping a set for myself, but I need to find a micrometer head to really make the second set useful. So if anybody's got one of these, look in your collection. If you got one and you don't have a need for it, shoot me an email. Again, my email is right down here below. Or even if you got a set of these that you'd be willing to part with, reach out to me on that too. I might be interested in just getting another set or a partial set or whatever. But anyway, surely somebody out there's got one of these and would be willing to part with it. I'm needing one, so help me out if you can help me out. Well, the workbench is empty again. We managed to go through our odds and ends items and get everything put up and get everything talked about. So we're going to check that one off the box, and hopefully have some more stuff for you down the road when new stuff comes in. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are greatly appreciated and help out a bunch with the algorithms on YouTube. So please do that if you don't mind. Big thank you to all my Patreon supporters out there and other people who support the site. Could not do everything we do without you guys. And I don't tell you guys thank you enough for everybody that does that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, guys, we are going to sign off and we will catch you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.